I think when studying creative arts, it helps a student look at the world in a different way, in a new way. It opens their eyes to the world around them, people around them, the environment around them.
I think it's that inherent ability to be creative and to come up with something that's innovative and new and exciting and vibrant.
Obviously things like imagination, being able to work collaboratively, particularly with other art disciplines, being able to have vision, integrity, to be able to think outside the box.
The reason I like performance, especially that's the creative art I'm into, is the fact that you can take a stimulus and an idea or a debate or an issue and kind of communicate your views on it. And I think creativity has really helped me just kind of communicate views and opinions.
I used to get really bad stage fright when I was younger, but through kind of repetitively going on stage and having a nice kind of community and group around me, I've really grown in confidence.
With academic subjects, it's very set in stone. It's very much pinpoint what you need to learn and what you need to know to pass, whereas with art, it's very what you want to do and how you interpret things.
I find with academic subjects there's a lot of kind of remembering and recall, which is completely different to creativity. Creativity is very much like an active process, but as I said before, I do believe that communication spans through all academic subjects and creative subjects, and that's definitely helped me. I'm not afraid to give opinions, ask questions, and challenge notions in academic subjects.
It's always important to create solutions for problems which there will be in a job. If you're going to do a job, there's going to be a problem and you have to solve it. It sounds a bit like mathematics, but in mathematics you always have the certain way you have to do something. And in art, you can create a way.
If we're thinking about technology, graphic design, product design, there's an outcome that needs to be made, and how do we get to that final stage? Learning that process is something that I think is missed in maybe academic subjects.
The beauty of our subjects is you don't get told what the answers are. You have to come up with those answers, and that means that you can create an answer that has never been thought of before.
I think the way that the creative subjects has changed is that I think the focus now is a lot more on the outcomes, on the exam results, whereas when I started teaching art, and certainly for the next 2 decades probably, the emphasis was a lot more on the process. There was a lot more time to be spent on exploring, being able to make mistakes, being able to be creative without the pressure of meeting exam targets.
I often have a frustration with academia because I feel like a lot of things are learned just to be retaught, and I don't feel that helps me kind of perceive the world, and those skills don't necessarily help me in the world, whereas creativity is all about being individual and having opinions, and I think that's so important. It's always, individuality is what draws employers to you, and individuality is what helps you form relationships, and I think that is in a way more important than academic knowledge.
I think expression through art or drama or dance or anything, it has the capacity to make people feel and change views and opinions.
The education system now is geared towards the English baccalaureate, and schools are feeling more and more that those subjects that are within the baccalaureate are being pushed to the forefront at the expense of the creative subjects.
We're destroying the students' sense of adventure, their sense of risk-taking, and we will pay for that in the future. In the arts, I think we still do hold on to that kind of belief that we can create individuals.
Because we're very focused on the exam results and getting the work completed and getting the grades, and I think that's a really dangerous road to go down, because I think that narrows the whole purpose of the creative arts, and it just becomes a procedure as opposed to a really exciting experience.
I think I would struggle being in an environment that is just set academic and there's no creativity, no kind of expression, because you just can't get that kind of understanding of yourself and understanding of the life you want to lead, because you haven't had any other opportunity but academic subjects.
If I had all of that energy and kind of ideas that I wouldn't be able to express, I'd feel like I was being cattle-penned, and I think that it could actually disrupt academic learning.
I think the thing is like drama and things like that, it's kind of my safe place, my happy place, and it's where I feel most accepted. So if that was taken away, I think I would not feel as happy and safe and comfortable as I do.
I have a few conditions that cause me to have chronic pain, and another thing with the condition is sort of medication and morphine, and that stuff doesn't particularly work well. So I've found me playing music myself is the only thing that is able to sort of take my mind off my pain and try and help me sort of release and get through that.
In Germany, art is not actually seen as a subject in which you can do A-levels. You can draw a little bit and maybe you'll get a good mark for it. But it's not seen as a subject which you should do your future with. It's actually quite strict. And personally, I found that quite sad.
The skills and things that I've learned in GCSE, if they weren't there to go on to A-level, then I don't think I would be anywhere near as successful as I am.
I think it's always good to have a foundation knowledge, and like with a lot of subjects, it's important to learn the basics of something before you can go any further. And I think it's important for me to get a base idea of practitioners and different styles, so I can then form an opinion. It's all about kind of finding out what you like to take that independence into A-levels.
I developed a really strong portfolio from GCSE. I think I learned a lot of different creative skills by having like a really strong GCSE art class. A lot of my course mates at university actually did foundation degrees, which I didn't actually do before I went to university. So I think they needed to do that because their education at A-level and GCSE wasn't strong enough for them to really understand that they wanted to go into a creative field.
It's very difficult to come up with just one particular value or skill or something that should be taught in schools, but if I have to, it would be for students not to be afraid to fail, not to be afraid to experiment and get things wrong, because that's one of the steps to being successful. Not see failure as a negative, but to see it as a positive.
Getting things wrong is absolutely fine. I think there's a culture of, I need to get it right first time, and surely something has to go wrong for us to develop something better. So problem solving, patience, and the attitude that if I get it wrong, it doesn't matter, I can make it right.
I think it's that perseverance, that willingness never to give up. If they give up, then they've stopped learning. If they keep going, then they will learn from the mistakes and carry on.
I think one of the most valuable skills that you can teach any student in any subject is resilience. To be able to see a problem, work through a problem, and come out the other side, and whether that be a success or a failure, to be able to learn from what happens. Quoting Matisse, creativity takes courage, and I think certainly in the arts, to have that courage to take risks, to go out there and perform or to put your artwork on show. I think you're going to find that art students are some of the most courageous, resilient students that you're going to come across because of what they have to do in their education to succeed in that subject area.